Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Telios. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Corinthians. An amazing book. Paul deals with so many problems that this young church is having, mixed in with some very grand theological passages regarding our salvation and our Christian life. And we are in chapter 12. We're finishing it today, last 4 verses. And we're wrapping up a chapter which has dealt with yet another problem, the issue of unity among the Corinthians, which he has discussed before in chapter 1 regarding water baptism, and then also in chapter 6 regarding the lawsuit issues, and then really probably in 8 and 10 regarding meat sacrificed to idols and not making your brother stumble. Here it's over miraculous signs and wonders where they seem to be having a problem, perhaps, of demanding everybody participates. Some of these people participating seem to be calling Jesus anathema, and Paul is saying, hey, you're not a Christian. You know, if there's some signs here where you might ask, Paul doesn't, but I would, where's the power coming from? So he then moves on from describing the signs. He sort of sets the problem, describes the signs of what's there to indicate that then the main issue is the unity of all of us being placed in the church, all of us having different roles under the headship of Christ, and we help each other. That brings us to verse 27, and he then re-emphasizes, verse 28, and God hath set some in the church. First apostles, secondary prophets, third teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversity of tongues. So again, the word here for gifts is charisma. It's a word that we talked about earlier that although defined as a gift, which gives an image of like a present or a packaged gift of a certain item, in this case, a certain capacity, the word doesn't indicate that. It means really grace, like charis, grace from God, an unmerited favor, very general, or perhaps even the results of unmerited favor regarding either salvation or the Christian walk. So we should look at these as the manifestation of the grace of God to the church. Now, another important word here, and again, this would be controversial, as everything I'm saying about 1 Corinthians 12 is, and perhaps the whole book. So again, it's how I interpret the scriptures in a normal, literal fashion. So if you disagree, you'll need to study the scripture yourself and come up with a better interpretation. Set, the word here, set in the original Greek is in a verb tense called aorist, meaning a one-time action that views the beginning and the completion of the action, usually used in the past tense. I think here we have another hint that these this manifestations of grace in which he describes in verse 27 are temporary and they are done. This goes along with chapter 13 that we'll be coming to in a few verses. The diminution of miraculous signs as the church grew and matured in the book of Acts and moved away from the Jews. Remember, the signs were really for the Jews, and there was a big Jewish contingent in Corinth. And the lack of emphasis, complete lack of emphasis in the rest of the New Testament epistles, from Romans to Revelation 3, where the church receives its marching orders. A few other verses as well I've described in earlier videos, but I think this aorist further emphasizes that the limitation in time of these manifestations, all again, that were there to testify that Paul and the other apostles and the early church were connected to Christ who brought us salvation, of the new information that was there, like happened with Moses and Elijah. 29. Are all apostles, all prophets, all teachers, all workers, or miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? All speak in tongues? Do all interpret? Otherwise, Whatever these manifestations, not everybody does each one. So don't force it in a sense. Again, we're to be unified. And then he says a very profound verse, 31, but covet earnestly the best gifts. Again, the word charisma, otherwise the best grace from God, benevolent favor from God, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. Okay, so Paul's going, forget all this. It's going to go away. It's causing divisions. It's not really maturing you. You're misusing it. I'm going to show you a better, more excellent way. What is that? Well, that's in chapter 13. So I won't tell you today. No spoiler alert. We'll start it next time. Glad you're with me today, and I hope to see you on the next video.